You are listening to the Hammersley Brothers e-commerce podcast. Like what you hear and want to take the shortcut on your e-commerce growth? Join hundreds of brands that work with us and head over to joinhb.com. That's joinhb.com and see how we can help you further. Join our members and smash your targets and unlock the profits within your e-commerce site. Good evening, Ian. How are you?
I'm well, Mark. Yeah, well, on a dark October night.
Yeah, and it's raining again here. It's every time I need to cycle into the office, starts raining. It was really nice yesterday, and then today I want to cycle, and I'm going to get wet again.
Good.
I digress. Last week I regaled the listeners with how I was going to get to the office, and I was going to go in my car. God knows what I'm going to do today.
You were going to go on the bus. That's what you said.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. I watched that back, and it was as gripping as I expected it to be.
Did you put that in the kind of the short reel? On
Mark.
This is
like
this
the kind of teaser. Yeah, you find out how Mark's going to get to work.
You should put some
watch to the end.
Music on it.
Yeah,
right.
Amazing.
Let's go.
So we are into the 5 business types, e-commerce business types, and we are doing the 4th one today. And would you like me to recap? Because it seems like a long time since we told people all the 5. Shall I just do a quick recap?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first one, and these are the podcasts we've done so far. So we did an overall podcast, didn't we, on the 5 types, where we went through them briefly. And then we have been doing the individual ones. So the first one is the compounding brand. So that's brands that you kind of recruit on a low ROAS, and then people buy over and over and over again, supplements, things like that. So if that's your business, then have a listen to that podcast. Then there's the high ticket one timer. So this is brands that sell high, products that are very expensive at high average order value, but don't tend to get a huge amount of repeat business. The extreme example is like a wedding dress business. Then you've got the volume retailer, which is the one we did last week. These brands are based on scale, like the bedding MVR site, one of those, Brook Taverner, clothing sites, things like that, homeware sites, they're kind of volume retailers. And the next one is the Need Driven Supplier. The Need Driven Supplier, these are functional brands selling products that solve a very specific need. And this is what we're going to cover today. And just without missing off the last one is the Seasonal Specialist, which is what we'll cover next week. Okay, so Ian, why don't you introduce the topic today of the e-commerce type we're going to talk about today, and then so we can kind of kick that off.
Yeah, so the Need-Driven Supplier, the 4th one, and the clue is in the title, really, the word need-driven, and we'll talk about a few businesses that we've scaled and a couple of businesses that are really interesting case studies. So GSF Car Parts is an interesting one. That's an example of a need-driven supplier where they're selling car parts, not car parks. There's a subtle difference. There's a 1-letter difference. It's a T, not a K. Car parts, aftermarket car parts, and taking those guys from 0 to 60 million in a really disruptive market. That was really interesting one. And then UK Water Filters, Barry's Direct, Screwfix Direct, AO.com. I mean, those are really, really good examples of businesses who are all selling a need-driven problem, and so and how they've scaled really well. So if we just unpack it a tiny bit, and then we'll talk about some of those businesses that were really done really well. It is in any marketing, in any retail environment, you have to understand the emotions of where the customers are. You have to understand what the customer wants. And sometimes, and I'm going to oversimplify here, but sometimes they are motivated by the desirability effect, like what they want. They're motivated by what they want, right? So you lead with that. An example of that is cosmetics and fashion, particularly high-end fashion. That's what they want. And other businesses, you lead with what they don't want, which is the anxiety, and they want to fix a problem. And that's where a need-driven supplier is. It's that second one. It is that you lean in the anxiety of what they don't want, or what happens if they don't fix this, and it's very much in that camp, and they tend to be Google businesses. They tend to be people in the examples of the stories we're going to talk about in a minute. In all cases, people know what they want. They are very much product aware, very much solution aware, product aware. They know what they need, and they need it now. And so that's why these are Google businesses. So these businesses here, like GSF Car Parts, going from 0 to northwards of 60 million, they're not spending any money on Meta. They're not spending any money on Facebook ads or Instagram. It is nearly all of it, if not all of it, is on direct intent, which is Google. Same thing with businesses like Screwfix Direct. Screwfix, I think now they're probably doing in the UK, I'm going to say something like 700 million, and it's you try and go and look at their Facebook ads. There isn't. They're not. They are spending big where people are searching for those products.
To be honest, they will probably spend, like, when you get so big, they will probably spend some on Facebook. Like, they will spend a little bit on it, but it will be something like 95% budget.
I think where we have taken these businesses from nothing to significant growth, it has been getting in the way of people who are searching for these products. It's a need-driven supplier, and it predominantly they are Google businesses. In my opinion, these are some of the most interesting businesses I personally like working with, because I like working with them because you know exactly what the customer needs. You know what you're trying to do. You know what you need to demonstrate. There isn't do you like this? It's like, I know exactly, if I'm selling a car battery or a set of spark plugs, I know exactly what I've got to convince the customer. And they want to know that it's definitely the right part. They want to know that it's going to arrive tomorrow. And they want to know that it's going to fit, and then this is what happens if it doesn't fit, and it's not going to let them down. It's literally very much a problem-solving product. So that's my intro.
Why don't I probe you on some of the GSF Car Parts stages and what was important and what made the difference? So obviously at the beginning you said that they weren't selling online at the beginning. Were they just selling on eBay or something like that, and then they were just launching it?
They weren't selling. This was, when we worked with GSF Car Parts, it was been a long time ago.
So before,
and there was no online business at all. It was talking like 2010. That time, it was like going back, 10, over 10, 15 years ago. But it was a very disruptive model. Right, and the interesting thing, and this is happening to other e-commerce business industries right now, because let me just go back a step. The way people used to buy car parts historically is they would phone their local motor facts, as they're called, and they would drive around to the local motor facts, or they phone them up and go, "Hi, have you got a battery for a Seat Leon?" Blah blah blah, and they go, "No, mate, I haven't got one." And then you phone up the next one. "Have you got a battery for it?" "No, I haven't got one." And it would just be this most ridiculously inefficient way of trying to find the parts, and this is how everybody was doing it. So, and then of course, so online comes along, and I can then go and put my car in, my car reg, and I can go and see where the nearest stockist is supplying that particular car part, and it's there. I can see it. Yeah, it's in stock, and it's going to come. I can either go and pick it up, or I can go and collect it. And that was very much, I need it, and I need it now. And we were able to build the technology to be able to do that, and then tie it into Google Shopping.
And do they sell their own products, or are they is it other people's brands? Majority.
It's all other people's brands. Yeah, and the majority of the the car part industry is like that. There are aftermarket brands. You have OE and you have aftermarket brands, but everybody's really selling everybody else's stuff. And there's lots of generic brands that, so if you've got a car, your VW camper van, there are many people who are selling a version of battery or spark plugs that will go and fit your camper van. There's lots of different brands, and they're kind of creating the same spec.
So there must have been a lot of people doing the same thing at the same time. So what made that site so successful? Like if I said, what are the main 3 things you think were fundamental to actually being able to grow quickly? What were those things?
Well, the first thing was the realization that you're selling other people's products. So it was price, availability. In fact, they turned it the other way around. It was availability, and it was price, because people needed it really quickly. So it was like, is it available? Is it a good price? Then there was a lot of anxiety around finding the right part. So we did loads of work initially. Site went live and we got it to about 3 million, and then it kind of flatlined. And what we realized was that people couldn't find the part. It was really hard to navigate. So we did lots of work on navigational flow, helping people find the right part. And so you could navigate through different journeys. So you could put your car reg in, or you could put your vehicle registration number, or you could click on the categories. You could do it that way. So it's really giving people confidence that this is the right part that will fit your car. So that was the first one. We did a lot of play around pricing and trying to be disruptive as well, because we could compete on price, and that was a big part of it. And we sucked up a lot of the market because we were disruptive with price. But I think fundamentally it was availability, price, and confidence that this is going to fit, and then evidence that it's going to arrive next day, or it was in stock.
So one thing I find with the Need Driven Supplier is that a lot of the time people are buying that product. They don't actually want to spend a lot of time buying it. Like, for example, if you're going to go and buy a fridge spare part, you don't want to spend like a month deciding what the most beautiful fridge spare part to buy. You want to buy it. So with a site like GSF, did you do any speed stuff? And what was there anything that happened from that kind of stuff? Because should people be investing in that side of stuff?
Yeah, well, it was one of the examples of, it is a very short buying window, unlike the sofa. Yes, and we made the site much quicker. And the interesting thing is I mean, sometimes making the site quicker doesn't make any difference, right? I mean, that's the truth, and that's the absolute truth. In certain businesses, making the site quicker is quite game changing. And so we made the site quicker, much quicker, like half the load time. And what you'd expect is that the time people spent on the site would be half the time.
Yeah,
that isn't what happened.
Yeah.
They spent the same amount of time on the site, but they added more products to basket. The average order value went up.
That's interesting.
And that's what happened. So the amount of time, it was almost like they'd gone, I am going to designate 2.5 minutes to finding the part for the cars that I need. And if you make it faster, I'm still going to spend 2.5 minutes. I'm going to go and look around. Oh, what else have you got? Oh, yeah, you know what? I can have this kit. I can have that. I can have this. I can have that. So they spent the same amount of time, but they added more stuff. So the average order value went up, which of course meant the return on ad spend went up equally. And then we could scale and we could upsell. So that was an unexpected joy of getting the site speed up that you wouldn't necessarily have seen.
So another mistake that I see, I mean, I'm just going to ask you about this, but another mistake I see with these kind of business Need Driven suppliers, they overlook email completely. A lot of them, you'll come along and be doing 10 million and go, do you do email? They go, we don't do email. So in terms of GSF and people like that, was it a big deal?
Yeah, it was exactly right. The businesses who were need-driven suppliers like GSF car parts, or a spare part water filter, spare part retailer, they always think, well, people are going to need it when they need it, so it's ridiculous. I'm not going to buy if because someone sent me an email. 2 mistakes people make with email. Number one, they don't send any email thinking that our customers aren't like the others. They don't, they only need it when they need it. That is completely wrong. that when the emails, because no one else is doing email in a need-driven supplier industry, if you do email, you stand out loads more, and you go. People go, oh yeah, I do need to get around to servicing my car. You know what? I'll do it, and I'll do it this weekend. Or I do need to get around to fixing that, that fridge hinge. Yeah, it is a pain. There's loads of things that people should be doing that they're not doing, and it's that nudge. So that's the first thing. That email is like it ironically works really well. So when we started to introduce email as a channel, we were doing big numbers of revenue that was directly related to the email that kicked all it off. And that was really, really interesting. And the emails would kick off, they would drive traffic to the site, and then all the flows would all kick in and start working again because it's them following around people. So that was the first thing that was really, really good. The second thing that people make a mistake of with a need-driven supplier with email is that email, they're too specific with the email. You need to be broad. So rather than saying, you bought this air filter for this car, therefore, we think you want the matching oil filter for this car. That is way too specific. You need to keep them big and broad, and you need to run events that are essentially up to 25% off Halloween week, and it ends Monday, and you just keep it. And here's all the categories you can buy, air filters, and the whole thing, and you keep it really broad and not specific, because you want to create this general push that can hit everybody. Trying to predict what people are going to buy in a need-driven business is really tricky. You have to keep them broad, and you have to don't overcomplicate it.
I think what you said was really key is this. First of all, you keep it broad, and then that gets them to the site, and then the behavioral emails kick off from that initial activity. Otherwise, you don't get those initial kicked off. So the other mistake I see from need-driven suppliers, like typically B2B and things like that, is that they don't have any offer architecture. They just go, well, our prices are our prices, and this is what we do. And they don't have any wiggle room, or they don't think about it in a way that allows them to do some kind of promotions. So how important was offer architecture to GSF and other companies like that? Was it a big deal, or was it just
it was
not worth it?
Game changer. It was an absolute game changer. And essentially, I think the reason why it's such a game changer is that people dedicate a small amount of time to find this product, this spare part, this thing that they need. They don't want to go and hunt around the internet for days on end trying to find this. It's not a particularly enjoyable experience. So when they land on your page and you're selling this widget, spare part, that every other person's selling, you want to give people the confidence that this is a bloody good price and there's an offer on. You don't have to go hunting around the internet. We've done all that for you. And we are presenting you with the best product, the best price. It's available. There's loads of people raving about it. You can get it tomorrow. Here's the guarantee. There's an event on at the moment. You come back later and it's 200 quid, and now it's 150. And there's like no reason to go to anyone else. It's all here, done. I'm in. And that offer architecture is that found because it's a problem-solving rational purchase that you typically are competing with lots of other people. If you don't have that offer architecture and you don't have a nod to price, people then think, well, maybe I can get it cheaper from somewhere else. Maybe I'll just go and have a look from somewhere else. And they start to hunt around, and then you've lost them because you've got such a small buying window that you have to hit them with the kitchen sink there and then. If you don't, they go. So you're basically saying, am I doing enough to stop somebody wanting to go back into Google and go and look to see if I can find it cheaper anywhere else? So that offer architecture is part of the perception of price. So it works really well. Again, it kind of shouldn't do, because you go, well, they're not going to buy it if there's an offer on, but that's not why you're doing it. You're putting the offer on because you're convincing, and your perception is that this is a really good deal, this is a really good price. You don't need to go and faff around looking at 18 other bloody websites. Just get it from us.
I think what you're saying is it's like it's anything where you're giving a human something like completely packaged in a nice package and everything is done for you, and it's like, hey, do you want this completely done for you for that task you've got? And all the anxieties about price have gone, all the anxieties about whether it's the fit or whether it's going to go wrong or whether they've got to get it returned. Everything is kind of packaged in a way that it's very easy for them to just swallow and take and move on, because it's kind of one of those sales that people don't want to spend. It's not like buying a car or a new motorhome or something like that. It's something that you just want to get on with your life with, and you just want to think, yep, today I had to make a decision. I made a good decision. Everything was done. It's going to get delivered on Friday, and I'm fine. Or even I'm going to go and pick it up. Click and collect was a big thing as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, click and collect, massive. Yeah. Huge proportion of click and collect sales. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, GSF, Screwfix. I mean, the same thing, you find with Screwfix. Screwfix is the majority of their online orders are click and collect. You're probably talking like 70%. Maybe more, 70 to 80% of all their online orders is driving people to click and collect. That just shows how quick and short the buying cycle is, other than, in other industries. It's just it's totally different to something like buying a bed or a sofa or some big, soft furnishing thing for your home. It's very much, I need it now, I've got a job to do. I was buying something from Screwfix this weekend, and it was like 2-part epoxy wood filler. And I'm
exciting.
Like, I need it. It's exciting. I need it now. And it's, I had this window of time. But I think going back to the offer, the other thing that was game changing about GSF, and you see this with Screwfix as well, is that they'll have these very specific need problem parts, these things that you really need, and they get that, but the offer can often be on other things that customer would buy that are totally, they're just add-on upselling products. And you'll see this on the homepage of businesses like Screwfix as well, where they'll start to go, okay, people are coming in and buying the spark plugs and the bits and pieces, but we're going to do an offer on. I'm going to give you a stupid example, but this is one thing that we've seen and that we may have been involved with. We're going to do an offer on bloody jacuzzis, that's a stretch, but the idea is that you people are coming in buying this stuff that they need, and then you're doing the offers on the other things, and you see that with loads of blokey, going to be stereotypical now, loads of blokey websites, where it's like, DIY, and it's, Screwfix, and it's AO.com, and it's, where they're just getting the other remote control cars, lawnmowers, jet washers, and they'll do deals on these things, and that happens all the time, and that is a pure play on upselling, average order value, and retention stuff.
Yeah. Well, once they get these volumes, they can go to these people and they get the rebates, don't they? So if you sell this many products, you're going to get this rebate of 10%, 15%, whatever it is, So there's all these deals that open up when you get the volume through, that you can make a lot more money from the existing business. You get the core right, and then you get that house file, which is I think that's million customers. Do what you want.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, you've got to get the core right. That's the key.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key to all of the e-commerce businesses, the 5 types. You have to understand, and the core really of all of this is that you've got to understand emotionally where the customers are. I mean, take AO.com. This is a good example. AO.com was an online, e-commerce brand that didn't exist. It's selling white goods in the UK. Probably, I don't know, if you're in the UK, you'll know. But if you're not in the UK, it's a bloody good story. That everybody was annoyed about buying fridges and freezers and dishwashers and washing machines. It was a pain. You would get delivered, and you'd have to take a day off work, be at home. The delivery driver wouldn't bloody turn up when he said he was going to do. You take a day off work, it never did. Then if he did arrive, he'd drop it off outside your house on the curb. Wouldn't take the old one away. You had you couldn't get it. It was the most awful customer experience. People hated it. It was a biggest anxiety about buying this stuff. What do AO.com do? They go, what do people hate about buying fridge freezers and washing machines online? Well, they hate the fact they don't know when the delivery driver's going to turn up. Right, we'll sort that out. We're gonna have live track. You can specify the hour, and if you want an hour, you could pay more to get the hour slot. And we're going to give people the option, and we'll charge them to take all the old packaging away, and we'll get rid of all that and recycle all the old packaging, and we'll get their old unit out, and we'll do it. And it is brilliant. They've done that right, and they've got the right pricing and the right offering, the right guarantee. They've introduced membership now, and it is just a brilliant example when they've just it's very simple. They've just gone, what do people get really pissed off about? Let's just fix that bit. We'll keep all the rest of it the same. We'll just fix this bit, and that is our point of difference. And that business now, I mean, they must be doing 700 million.
Yeah.
Again,
it reminds me what you were talking about.
It's massive.
Then about removing anxiety. As I was working with someone in Australia, and he sold mattresses. And mattresses, the biggest worry about mattresses is, you lie it on the shop and then you think it's okay, and then you get it and it's uncomfortable. And his point of difference was the fact that if you found it uncomfortable, he came round and adjusted the mattress at your house. So he could come in and change the layers of foam and layers of things in the mattress to actually adjust it to your needs over time. And that was his guarantee. And that's such an amazing way to kind of frame it. Like, everybody else is saying, yep, you get this mattress and okay, you've got a sleep guarantee, but nobody actually wants to return a mattress. Because what are you going to do? Oh yeah, we'll just return the mattress. We're just going to sleep on the boards of the bed for a few days. You actually want someone to fix it. That's what you want. So it's kind of like these little subtle changes to a business model that change something, that removes a lot of the risk, and then you just go and clean up in the market, don't you?
Yeah. And you have to understand with these particularly these needs, the need-driven supplier, you have to understand what where people are emotionally, what their anxieties are, and you have to be able to communicate that very quickly, very effectively, often repeating it multiple times over and over and over and over again, because they have such a short win time.
Yeah.
And like you say, nobody wants to go and look at 18 different websites selling replacement fridge hinges.
Yeah.
They want to get in, get out. So do not hide all of your
also the same thing they want to have is they want a website. They want a website they can go to over and over again for that thing. It's like, right, when every time my fridge breaks down, I just go to that website. It's sorted out. I don't have to search the internet. I know that they've got a good service. I got a good price. I'm just going to go and do it there. It's if once you've fixed it for somebody once, that you'll most of the time, unless they got like GSF car parts, you got to buy something really big for your car. You'll probably just keep going back because it's they do it.
Yeah, the lifetime customer value tends to be quite large, and I think particularly, but the interesting part about the GSF was we came in a time where the market was being very disrupted by this old. It was like this is the old way of selling. And then the new way is, well, why would you go around to all these motor factories and phone them up? And the same thing ironically happened with another industry that we worked with, which was selling plants online, selling plants online. That if people wanted certain plants, they would historically have had to have gone to the garden centres, and they go around to the garden centres and say, have you got this, rhododendron bush?
Specific, yeah.
And they go, no. And then you go, oh, so you'd have to go and drive around to another guy. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now you can go online, you can find exactly the age and specific variety of plant, and it can be delivered to your house within a matter of days, and it's
Or
better,
you
and
can
it's
find
fresher, and it's bigger.
You can find the exact branch that's got it, and you can go and pick it up that day. That's why people
can go
do
and have a
click and
look at it.
collect. Because if you're working
Yeah.
on something that day and you want it to get done, you can go, I can find it, go and pick it up today, and I can bring it home. I don't care if I have to drive in a car. I just want this task done. So it's not just about online delivery. It's also click and collect, or the combination of both, making the decision.
click and collect tends to be much bigger in this industry than others. I mean, the Screwfix example, like I said, just to say it again, 70 to 80% of their orders will be click and collect. That is huge. But a lot of it's driven online, and they do, pushing them into store. So some unique ones, short buying time, make sure you understand the problem. We've had some great successes in fact, I say they're one of my favorite.
Yeah, well, they're probably
types.
one of the most easiest businesses for us to scale, because it's like one of those things where you can see the difference of the changes very quickly that you're making on the site. It's not like a furniture business where you make a change and you think, well, did that help or did that not help? Like, you can literally, I remember one thing you did for GSF,
isn't it?
One thing you GSF, I think we went from like a 300,000 a month to $1 million a month, and it was a change. And don't say what it was, but like, I remember there being an absolute game changer, and it was like, oh, well, that was the right thing to do. It was like that. It was that hot. There was those hot buttons in it that you could press that made the real difference. And we've taken the model to other people, like the UK water filters and people like that. And we're working with Barriers Direct and things like that. And they're bringing the model to them. It just at the beginning, sometimes, I mean, it can be difficult for sometimes people to do things that they think aren't them. You know what I mean? Like, they'll be like, oh, we don't do email, we don't do this, we can't do, like, why are we going to do an offer for Halloween? It doesn't make sense. But it does make sense when you see the results. Yeah,
exactly. They really resist it, don't they? They think, well, people are only going to buy it when they need it. Why would it? Because I wouldn't buy it. They that because they were the owners or the marketing team. They kind of, well, no, I wouldn't be.
Well, the reason I think we were aware of it right back in the day, like 20 years ago when we first started, we worked with someone called Tech Data? Used to work with Tech Data, and they sold servers from Festival Park in Staffordshire, and they used to do these kind of event-based marketing where they do like a golden ticket and you would win a PlayStation or something like that. And if you bought a server with your product, you got like a golden ticket and you got a chance to win a PlayStation. And you'd think that wouldn't make any difference to people buying servers for companies, but it went massive. Absolutely massive. They were like selling so many more servers that month just for the chance to win a PlayStation. They could have just bought themselves a PlayStation. Doesn't make sense. But like, that was the first place where we went, okay, you can actually do event-based marketing for need-driven marketing, and it makes a really, really big difference. And so we were lucky that we got exposed to that early doors, really. When we both had a full head of, I had a full head of hair. I had dark hair. and never a beard. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, Ian. I think we've
thanks everybody.
We've done a decent dash, and we'll see you next week for the seasonal specialist.
Thanks everyone.
Cheers.